We have the pleasure of meeting Tom McKernan now, who is going to talk to us about his experience. Tom, what branch of the service did you serve?
I was in the Marine Corps.
You were in the Marine Corps. Mm-hmm. Did you enlist?
Yes, I did.
You did.
I enlisted in January 1958, and I retired in May of 78.
Wow, so this was a 20-year career.
Right after I graduated from Morgan. Right across the street.
All right, now I have to tell you, other people have told stories about when they were inducted back in the 60s, and there would be a lineup, and they'd count off by twos, and one group would be Army, and one group would be Marines, and the guys who were Marines were really scared. But you sought that out. Tell me about that.
I always had a desire to be in the Marine Corps. My dad was Navy, World War II Navy, and he thought the sun rose and set on the Navy. In fact, I thought it was Dad and Bull Halsey that won the war in Pacific, you know. And when I came home and said, Dad, I got a job. Oh, what are you doing? I said, I'm leaving for Paris Island next month. He was livid, to say the least. But he overcame that. He overcame that.
Proud, yeah.
And but why? Actually, I was working at Grove Gardens at the time. It was towards the end of the year. Yeah. I knew the job was not going to last that long.
Yeah.
In fact, I was making deliveries of flowers and stuff like that. So I was up on 145. I don't know if you remember the Abenaki turkey farm. It was on 145, and it was
Westbrook or
in Westbrook.
In Westbrook.
It was actually Westbrook, and it was owned by a retired Marine Corps major.
Okay.
And I love this story. I have to. You're going to have to tell me to stop at times.
That's okay.
So I go up, and I'm in the Grove Gardens truck, and I pull in his driveway. He had what we called an A sign out on the road, a recruiting sign.
Oh.
So I pulled in. This old man comes out of the fields. He's in the boots and coveralls and a slouch hat.
Sure.
And he says, "Can I help you?" I said, "I'd like to speak to somebody about joining the Marine Corps." He says, "1 minute, I'll be right back." Lynn, I swear to God, he went in that house and came out in minutes. He was in full dress boots.
Oh, no! Whoa!
I said, "How did this happen?" Then he goes, "Come with me."
Oh, my goodness.
In his barn, he had a recruiting office.
Oh, my
And he took all the information, and he wasn't a recruiter per se, but he worked with the fellows in New Haven.
Okay.
So he used to go to Morgan and give the talks once a year and all that. And then he drove me into New Haven, introduced me to the recruiters, who I do not remember at all at this point. And next thing I knew, I was in the Marine Corps. January 15th, that was in December. And then January 15th, on a cold, dark morning,
you got up.
I mustered in New Haven and left for Paris Island.
What was Paris Island like? How was it? What is basic in Marine Corps?
It was hard.
Yeah.
But it was more mental, I think. You go down there and all of a sudden your eyes are opened. I mean, these guys, these drill instructors. Now, in my day, they could lay hands on you to make adjustments.
That's a good way of putting it.
I had a good friend that was a drill instructor later on, and he told me all the stories of drill instructors. But it was an eye-opener. I was never really in fear.
Okay.
And believe it or not, when I think back, when I read the questions that you had sent out, I started really thinking hard about it. And I think we formed a pecking order in our little minds at the time. And I'm saying, well, I know I'm going to last longer than that guy over there. You know?
Okay, yeah.
And you kind of put yourself in some pecking order. And if that order got close to you, then you would start worrying.
Yeah.
But never got to that. It was physical. And And I never feared anything down there.
Wait, was it exciting? I mean, did you feel excited about the opportunity, or that you could master what they were asking you
Yes.
to do?
Yeah, that was a sense of accomplishment. And then they instill in you about Marine Corps history and all, and you say, God, I'm going to be one of these guys. You know, I hope I never have to go through what they went through, but
Yeah.
I'm going to be part of this. And you become a Marine.
Yeah.
You don't join the Marine, you become a Marine. And to this day, I get choked up when I hear the Marine Corps hymn.
Good.
I went over to the Coast Guard Academy. The Marine Band was up there a few years back. And my son went up with me. And Brian was in the Corps also.
Oh, good. Oh.
And I was so proud to stand when they played the hymn with my son.
Yeah.
And I just wish the other guy could have been there. My other son went in also.
Oh, wow.
So,
what a legacy. This is wonderful.
It was.
Tim.
Yeah. I felt so proud when they, because I divorced their mother years prior.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have a whole lot to do with instilling in them the Marine Corps.
Right.
And when Brian, I was already retired. Brian was living with me at the time. And I was in Middletown for some reason. I forget what it was. But I literally walked around the corner and bumped into the biggest Marine gunnery sergeant I ever saw in my life. And I looked at him and looked up at him. Yeah. I said, "What are you doing here, Gunny?" He says, "I'm on recruiting duty."
Oh,
I said,
whoa.
I said, "Well, I used to be on recruiting. In fact, I was here in Middletown." And I said, "Have I got an applicant for you?" Lynn, I swear to God, I did what I had to do in Middletown. I went home, and there was the gunny sitting at my dining room table talking to my son.
Oh my God.
I swear, I gave him all the information. I knew what he needed.
Yeah.
And I gave him name and his education level and yada, yada, yada. And there he was. And the next thing I know, Brian's going in.
Wow.
So I never pushed him towards it. And the other guy was going, Tommy, my younger son, was going to the University of Alabama studying engineering. He called the officer part of the recruiting. And then he called me, he says, "Dad, they're not getting back to me." He says, "I don't know what it is." He says, "I've called 2 or 3 times, nobody's returning calls."
Whoa.
And I'm thinking, no, they must have already made quota. They're not worried. But he said to me, he says, "I'm going to talk to the Air Force." He said, "I'm going to see what they have," because he wanted to be a pilot.
Okay.
The next day he called me back. He says, "Dad, I couldn't do it." He says, I'm leaving for Paris Island at the end of this semester."
No.
He went for the summer. He joined the reserve unit.
Yeah.
So he went for the summer, then back to school. And,
Great. Yeah.
And he ended up a jumper, parachutist.
Oh, and that's what wow.
He did great. The other guy went air wing. He was in Beirut.
He was.
He got his combat crew wings, and I'm sweating bullets because he was flying on the same helicopters that I was on in Vietnam.
The same?
Well, we're thinking and we're talking later, and I said, Brian, I said, I bet they were the very same choppers. Because the Marine Corps never throws anything away.
Yeah.
And he says, Dad, he says, you might be right. Wow. He says, some of those birds were put together with baling wire and duct tape. Yeah.
Oh, now, where did you serve in Vietnam?
I had 2 tours in Nam.
Wow.
First time I was with the 2nd Battalion, 5th Marines. I had a section of 81 mortars.
Oh.
They didn't like to use us because the 81, I have to remember, it's been a few years, was like 115 pounds. It was spread out over seven people on a gun, but we wanted the infantry troops to carry an extra round for us. And our rounds went anywhere from 20 pounds to, I think the HE heavy was 30 to 40 pounds. I may be
Wow.
off on that. If anybody's listening, don't correct me. It's my mind. And they didn't want to do that. So they reintroduced the 60 motor, just a smaller version of
Okay.
ours that could stay right with the infantry company.
Okay. So they were more mobile because
They
were
were a
lighter?
little more mobile, a little lighter. The company commander had his hand on them right then and there, where I still had an FO with the company.
A field officer.
A forward observer.
Oh, okay.
And he would call in fire missions when we could reach out 4,000 yards with all the increments.
Yeah.
It's complicated,
Yeah.
but all the increments on the round and all that. And we weren't that accurate. I mean, we could adjust onto a target, but we left a little bit to be desired where that 60 was right there,
Okay.
close in and stuff. We had to show the infantry how to run the 60 because those guys were just regular infantry guys, and we had to teach them how to do all that. But it got pretty complicated. I was trying to tell a good friend of mine. He was Marine infantry, and he said, "How did you guys get on target?" Well, I started. Well, we have a plotting board, then we have the gun set up on an azimuth, then we take the map coordinates, put it on the plotting board, then we find our position, we find the gun's position, we find the FO's position, and we line everything up. The number that comes up on top is what you put on the gun. And I said, then you have to put the aiming stakes.
Oh,
and he says, stop. He said, I don't want to hear anymore. But yeah, that's what I did for my first tour, first year. And then towards the end, I had been hurt in an auto accident before I deployed.
Okay.
And they pulled me. We went by ship from California to Okinawa. We got there.
How long did that take?
Crossing was about 16 days.
Wow,
I think.
okay.
About 16 days. I think we had to stop in Hawaii too. Yeah, I know we did. Yeah, I know we did.
Was it good?
Yes, it was good. It was very, very good.
It should be very good, Tom.
Right on Waikiki. And we got there, and the corpsman came down to me. He says, "Hey, Sergeant McKernan," he says, "you're on a medical hold to the States. We got to send you back." I said, "No." I said, "I've already left. I'm here." I said, "Why send me back? I'm gonna go in front of a board. They're gonna clear me, and I'm gonna be back over here with another unit." And he says, "All right, I'll hide the paperwork." I said, "All right, great." So I stayed with him.
Okay.
But my hip I had broken my hip in a car accident. Okay. I was pretty well banged up.
Yeah.
I never got hurt in Vietnam, but I couldn't drive the roads in California. That was disastrous for me. So my hip started bothering me, and I ended up going to H&S Company, which is headquarters and service, which 81s was part of.
Okay.
And I ended up the company gunny, and I would set up perimeter defenses. I even went out on patrol with once in a while, not every day. I wasn't in constant life and death situations, but I was out there on numerous occasions. But primarily it was within the battalion area.
Okay. And what part of Vietnam?
We went into an area called Chu Lai, where we made a landing, and then we moved up to Hill 69, which we operated off of. What they had in Vietnam, instead of a line, bad guys here, good guys here, pushing this way, we had areas of operation.
Okay.
We had a big circle. We operated within there, and then maybe this 1st Battalion, 5th Marines would be way over here. Their area of operation would maybe go into ours a little bit.
Yeah.
So it was different, and a lot of fellas from Korea, World War II, couldn't grasp that.
It was a different way of...
Yeah, we weren't moving from point A up through,
Yeah.
taking everybody out in front of us. And it was even hard for some of us.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of staff NCOs that were World War II and Korean veterans. So they were, they were old core, those guys. Oh my God, it was such a pleasure to be around them.
Yeah.
God, they were great guys.
You know, it was when you were talking before about, memoir writing and so on, and you said sometimes about the music. I was thinking of that as a question. What do you remember about music when you were in the service?
The one song that every time I hear it makes me think of Vietnam is, and I think a couple of people did it, was the taxi's waiting outside the door. He was taking a jet plane.
Oh, yeah.
Peter, Paul, and Mary might have done it.
I'm leaving on a jet plane.
I'm leaving on a jet plane. Yeah, the taxi's waiting. He's blowing his horn.
Yes.
And,
okay.
And all the time I hear that, I think of Vietnam, because we left after the initial trip by ship. Everybody flew.
Right.
And they were replacements for the units that were already there.
Did you have R&R? Did you have an...
Oh, yeah. I can't touch that. You don't That was just drunken disorder.
But did you get to Australia?
Yes, I did.
You did? Oh.
On my second tour,
Okay.
they opened it up. It hadn't been open on my first.
Okay.
And again, there was a question later on about people that impressed me in the Corps. My first sergeant was Leland Crawford from West by God, Virginia. Big
West by God?
West by God. He said, "Where are you from, first sergeant?" "West by God, Virginia." Boy. he was a big man. He was like 6'3", 6'4", and great guy. And he tells me, I was staff sergeant at that. This is on my second tour. I was staff sergeant. And he says, when you get down the R&R Center, look up Gunny Sullivan. I'm just pulling a name. I can't remember now. And he said, he's a buddy of mine, and he'll send you anywhere you want to go. I had orders for Hong Kong, I think. So I get down there. Lo and behold, I run into this Gunny Sullivan. And I said, First Sergeant Crawford's my first sergeant. He said to look you up and you'd set me up for a fight. He says, yeah, where do you want to go? I said, I'd love to go to Australia. He says, be here at 0800 in the morning. And there I was. I flew down. It's him. He and Crow were in Korea together, something like that.
Had a bond.
And backing up on Crawford, he was a drill instructor in my series in boot camp. This is the Corps is so small.
Whoa! So there's a lot
Everything
of
overlaps. And Crow was not he was not a drill instructor in my platoon, but in one of the platoons within our company, which there were 4. But he was so dynamic, everybody knew him. And then later, when I was on recruiting in New Haven, I had an opportunity to go to 8th and I for the Sunset Parade, which is a big formal parade, and they present the colors, the Marine Band, the silent drill team, the mascot. They escort the dog out, the English Bulldog, and he has a uniform. That's something else. And I'm down there, and they give commands, and then there's supplement commands that are answered. And I hear this voice. I said, I know that voice. Sure enough, it was Crawford. So I went to the staff club after, and sure enough, he was there. And he was now he did not remember me from anybody. And I said, he was a gunnery sergeant, I think, at that point. I said, Gunny, I'm Staff Sergeant McKernan. I was in your series. Oh, yeah. And he treated me like a lost buddy or something. And he says, I said, I was in 108. I had Dickerson, Humphrey, and Watson. Now, there you go. I remember those names from all the years. And he says, oh, yeah. He says, I saw Dickerson, a couple of years ago or something like that. And he treated me like I was. And then I get to Vietnam. I'm out in the bush, and the company radio goes, we were operating separately. I had my platoon out there. He says, go green. I go green. Then we could talk like we're talking right now. He said, we got a new first sergeant, a guy by the name of Crawford. I said, would that be Leland Crawford? He says, yeah, I think it is. I said, oh my God. But again, that small Marine Corps, everything overlapped. You could always find someone that knew somebody that you knew, and it was. I loved it. I loved every day in the Marine Corps. Even Vietnam. Well, there were some days I didn't care for, but I loved every day.
All right. After your 2 tours, then where did you go?
I came back. In between tours, I was on recruiting in New Haven.
Okay.
When I came back the second time, I went to recruiting in Northern California.
Oh.
Our recruiting main office was called Recruiting Station San Francisco, even though it was across the bay in Alameda. The physical station was in Alameda at the Naval Air Station there. But I was up in wine country. That was
must be beautiful.
I had 3 counties that were bigger than the state of Connecticut.
Oh,
I had Lake County, Mendocino, and Sonoma County.
Wow.
And they were bigger than the entire state of Connecticut. And I had 1, 2, 3 recruiters. Then they brought a fella in to do reserve recruiting. So at one point I had 4. And then a 5th came in temporarily. I don't know why he was temporary, but he came in. So I had 5 recruiters at one time. What a big area. Spread out. Yeah. I had Indian reservations.
Wow.
I went up there, and they were very nice to me. And this one Indian said, you're welcome here. And he says, but I'd be out of town by sunset. I swear. He says, when the sun goes down, don't be here. Okay. I'm listening to you. Thanks for the word.
Oh, that's great.
And I was up there at Redwoods. It was
I bet it was beautiful.
Beautiful country.
Yeah. And where else did serving in the Marines take you?
Oh, I was very fortunate. I went to Okinawa right out of boot camp, and then from there, went to Japan. We did a training exercise at Mount Fuji.
Oh, wow.
Then we had a few days R&R, just to get out and about. Yeah. Then I was assigned, I was picked for the 3rd Marine Division security platoon. We were security for the general, for the division commander, who was David M. Shoup at the time and was a Medal of Honor winner in World War II. Not a very big man, but he just packed with presence. I mean, when he walked in the room, like Sergeant Major Crawford, when they walked in the room, you said, this guy's in charge. No question about it. And he was picked. There were 7 generals senior to him, but he was picked to be commandant.
Oh,
and his tour was cut short, and he was sent back to Washington. But along with doing the arrival and departure ceremonies for dignitaries and stuff like that, and then I was picked for the color guard.
Oh, fun! Good.
And I just loved that.
Oh, I loved that. You must swell with pride.
Oh, I think about it, and I don't know. I'm kind of reserved, I think. But I like being out in front. Oh. I didn't like, I liked being in the Marines, being part of them, but I kind of like being in the color guard.
Yeah.
Because everything was focused on
this is pretty good.
Look at me.
Yeah.
And then we formed a silent drill team. We had a sergeant. that had been on a drill team. It wasn't 8th and I, but it was kind of picked up and along the same lines. We had 10 minutes of silent drill with the rifle exchanges, fixed bayonets too, rifle exchanges, flip over the head,
That
grab
is
it, you know.
so impressive. How many hours the practice must be?
We used to go up on the parade deck, as we called it, at 3 in the morning, because Okinawa was so hot, and they had lights up there too.
Okay,
The parade deck was kind of lit, and we'd practice from 4 in the morning till chow time for breakfast.
Wow.
And then we go to chow, then we might go back up for another hour or so.
Wow.
But I mean, it was all step by step by step, you know, and then and it's all the silent count. In all the lieutenant would do would march out with this sergeant.
Yeah.
He had the guide on. He'd turn, we'd be at attention, and he'd go, port, arms. And then we'd come up, boom, count 1, 2, and then that was it for the next 10 minutes.
Wow.
And
That's.
then we came up on line like 8th and I does with the rifle tosses and stuff like that. But it was good. We went on tour with the division band. We went to Hong Kong, Singapore, Formosa, Thailand, and we drilled for the king and queen. I think it was called Siam at the time.
Oh yeah.
God, I'm dating myself here. But we drilled for them in a big, it was like a soccer stadium or something.
Wow.
And then we went to the American Embassy and drilled for the ambassador. And yeah, that was quite an experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that carried all the way through the Corps. When I went to Newport, I had some great duty. When I went to Newport, the sergeant major's looking at my record. He says, "Oh, you're in the security platoon, huh? What'd you do there?" I said, "I was in the color guard." "Oh, good. We're looking for somebody here for the color guard." I ended up in the color guard there.
Yes.
Then I go on recruiting in New Haven. Sergeant major again. He said, "Well, where you been?" I said, I told him where I'd been. "What'd you do there?" And I said, "I was in the color guard." He says, "Well, you're in the color guard here now." So whenever they had a ceremony or something, send McKernan. Have him go meet Sergeant so-and-so somewhere.
Beautiful, beautiful.
So that's what I did for a lot of times in the service.
That's wonderful.
And if I could get back in my uniform now, I would probably do it here for the Legion or the VFW.
Yeah. That's good. All right. You'll be the first person I've asked this to, but what does it mean to be a member of the American Legion or the VFW? How has that shaped your life?
You know, I've been a member of the Legion since 67, 68. And I joined because Dad was commander at the time, or maybe if he wasn't commander, he was in the hierarchy down there. So I was kind of force marched into there. But I enjoy it now. But I didn't go for a long time. And I had that hang-up that a lot of Vietnam veterans had. Sour taste, I don't know. We weren't... I honestly do not know how to put it, but we were kind of looked on like, nah, you're not fighting a real war. You know,
it was a tough, hard time. Yeah.
I remember the body bags. I mean, that's pretty serious to me. And but you know, they didn't mean